taking away health insurance on the job for 170 million Americans, banning gas cars, confiscating firearms. These are all
What do you mean taking away health insurance? What are you talking about?
She said when she ran for president that she wants to eliminate private health insurance on the job for 170 million Americans, John.
Yeah, I mean that is not her position now. She
How do you know that's not her position? How do you know that's not her position?
I mean, she says she no longer supports Medicare for all.
She has not said that.
Hey, you know how Kamala Harris doesn't stand for anything, or at least she won't tell you what she stands for. I mean, she's all about the joy and the party and the vibe. And is it still Brat Summer? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's still Brat Summer. You know, there's a reason why she's not telling you what she'll do when she becomes president, because if you knew, you'd hate it. Well, Tom Cotton appeared on ABC's This Week, and he reminded all the viewers of that show exactly where Kamala Harris officially stands on policy. And well, watch what happened next when interviewer Jon Karl took issue with some of the positions that Senator Cotton relayed to his viewers.
And President Trump is going to draw a sharp contrast with Kamala Harris, who has supported things like decriminalizing illegal immigration or giving taxpayer-funded health insurance to illegal aliens or taking away health insurance on the job for 170 million Americans, banning gas cars, confiscating firearms. These are all
what do you mean taking away health insurance? What are you talking about?
I love the fact that that was the one of that long list, you know, amnesty for illegal aliens, confiscating firearms, doing away with gas cars, all of these things that he just laid out. The only thing Jon Karl could take issue with is say, wait, what do you mean doing away with private health insurance? Oh, so which is sort of an admission that all those other things are accurate, but he draws the line on eliminating private health insurance, right? So he says, well, what do you mean? What do you mean doing away with private health insurance? Now watch how this exchange goes.
She said when she ran for president that she wants to eliminate private health insurance on the job for 170 million Americans, John.
Yeah, I mean that is not her position now.
How do you know that's not her position? How do you know that's not her position?
I mean, she says she no longer supports Medicare for all.
She has not said that. Okay. Maybe anonymous aides on a Friday night have said that, but the last thing that she said on
this was not a radical.
All right, now we'll pick up because now Jon Karl changes the subject, but not really. But understand what Tom Cotton just said there. Here's Jon Karl saying, "Oh, she doesn't support that anymore," and that's inaccurate. You don't know that. You see, she's never given an interview. She hasn't given an interview in the 47 days since she was coronated as the nominee. She's never done a town hall and answered questions of voters, let alone of reporters. She has not said anything about what her healthcare policies would be other than we have to bring down the cost of healthcare, which is remarkable because I thought that's what Obamacare did. Remember? There was one report from an anonymous campaign staffer, as Senator Cotton just pointed out, that was hand-delivered to a writer for the New York Times or the Washington Post that said that she no longer supports Medicare for all. But that doesn't mean that that's Kamala Harris's position. It means that someone without a name told a reporter in a newspaper that she doesn't stand for that. Well, see, this is the funny thing about running for office. If the candidate now wants to say that 4 years ago, I supported eliminating private health insurance, but now I no longer have that position, well, then we, the people, the voters, we deserve to know what changed. You see, I'm no Jon Karl. But if I were a journalist, if I were a reporter, if I hosted a political interview show on ABC News, I would want to have that candidate sitting in front of me and I'd say, so 4 years ago, you wanted to privatize health insurance. Excuse me, you wanted to eliminate private health insurance and make all health insurance go through the government. And now you no longer believe that. What changed, Kamala Harris? Were you wrong 4 years ago? What's different? Are things better now so we don't need to bring private health insurance under the Medicare umbrella? Or have you just realized that that was a terrible idea and there's no possible way to do it properly or that it'll be too expensive? Please explain your thought process. Why don't you support it anymore? Or do you just not support it anymore because you know it's political poison? Or do you just not support it anymore because, well, once you get elected, you'll support it 3 months after you win? And you're just saying that you don't support it because you know how toxic it would be to voters. Or did you not really believe it 4 years ago, but you were trying to run to the left of Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, and that's why you embraced it, because you were so desperate to make some sort of impression in a crowded field in 2020? It's got to be one of those, Kamala Harris. I've given you lots of choices. Pick one. That's how I would ask the question if I were Jonathan Karl. But it's funny, Jonathan Karl doesn't seem too interested in that. Oh, the Harris campaign says she doesn't support that anymore? Okay, duly noted. Now, if a Republican claims that she does, I'll go ahead and fight that fight on her behalf. So now Karl changes the subject, or attempts to. He says, listen, we all saw the convention, and that was hardly a radical left wing. She's moving to the center. She's moderating, right? Come on.
Maybe anonymous aides on a Friday night have said that, but the last thing that she said.
But this was not a radical convention. I mean, she as you heard me go through with Bernie Sanders, she is not taking the positions of the far left of her party. She's clearly making an effort to move to the middle.
I did hear what you said to Senator Sanders, and I thought it was clear that he's very disappointed that she's taking these efforts not to change her positions, but to hide her positions, John. The American people are totally justified to conclude that Kamala Harris is a dangerous San Francisco liberal based on what she campaigned on the last time she ran for president and what this administration has done the last 4 years. Again, you would have thought watching the Democratic convention last week that the Democrats are not in office, that they're not in power, that they're campaigning against an incumbent Republican, when in reality, she's been part of the failures of the Biden-Harris administration for 4 years. And when she campaigned for president, in her own right, she did in fact promise things like decriminalizing illegal immigration and taking away health insurance.
But that's his position she's clearly changed on, and she has said she has changed. Yes, she has.
No, she has not. John, she has not said that.
Yeah, thank you to Newsbusters at MRC for that one. Yeah, you need to see this part again, where I don't think Jonathan Karl quite understands the English language. She said that's a position she clearly doesn't hold anymore. And this would have been a great moment for him to play the video of Kamala Harris explaining how she doesn't hold that position anymore. But he can't, because she's never actually said that she doesn't hold that position anymore. Take a look. When he says she clearly doesn't.
Biden-Harris administration for 4 years. And when she campaigned for president in her own right, she did in fact promise things like decriminalizing illegal immigration and taking away health insurance.
But that's his position she's clearly changed on, and she has said she has changed. Yes, she has.
No, she really hasn't. He just asserted two things there. This is like an employee of ABC News conducting a political interview, and he is either the most misinformed political journalist in Washington, D.C., or he's just an outright liar. I'll leave open the possibility it could be both. And he's just auditioning for press secretary in the new Harris White House. He just asserted that she has clearly changed her position on eliminating private health insurance, and she has clearly said so. And she has done neither. She has never said anything about her position on private health insurance since 4 years ago, when this is what she said. We've got the best. Sorry, Jonathan Karl. I guess we're more prepared to do a political talk show than you are. Here's where Kamala Harris stands.
So just to follow up on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, to reiterate, you support the Medicare for All bill, I think initially co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also a co-sponsor on it. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it?
Well, listen, the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care. And you don't have to go through the process of going through an insurance company, having them give you approval, going through the paperwork, all of the delay that may require. Who of us has not had that situation where you got to wait for approval and the doctor says, well, I don't know if your insurance company is going to cover this. Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
Eliminate all that. But by the way, that's the moment when Jake Tapper, if he were any kind of journalist or reporter trying to actually draw information out of a political candidate, that's when Jake Tapper would have said, well, based on your scenario, instead of the insurance company putting somebody through all of that, it's the government putting somebody through all that. How is that an improvement? But Jake Tapper needed to move on to his next topic about how Trump is a poo-poo head. That is Kamala Harris's official stated position on how to solve the healthcare problems in America. And she has never, since that day, stated anything otherwise, regardless of what an anonymous staffer on the Harris presidential campaign leaked to the New York Times. But Jonathan Karl, as far as he's concerned, she's completely changed her position on that, which again would sort of demand a question. Why did you change your position on it? But of course, the answer is she has not changed her position on this. She wants to be president, and she will do and say anything she needs to do and say to be president. And then God knows what she's going to do once she has the power. So what's really at play here? Why is all this happening? Why is Kamala Harris still refusing to grant an interview or a town hall or a press conference or anything other than a scripted political event? Why? Well, actually, last week, one of her spokespeople gave away the store. As you listen to Kayvon Shroff, a DNC delegate, and she was put into onto this ABC News show to speak on behalf of the campaign as a surrogate. I want you to think back to that clip you just saw of Jonathan Karl arguing with and debating with Senator Tom Cotton and erroneously, falsely claiming that Kamala Harris has changed her position on eliminating and criminalizing private health care. I want you to think about what Jonathan Karl did there in that interview while you listen to the strategy explained in this from this Democrat delegate aligned with Kamala Harris. And then it'll all make sense.
Vice President Harris has been incredibly brave to roll out an ambitious economic agenda because we all know how this works. The more details you share, the more your policies are going to get picked apart. But she's saying, I trust the American people. I trust the journalists to explain these policies and our values to folks. And I think when that happens, it will be successful for Democrats. These are very pro-worker, pro-middle class policies.
Yeah, pro-worker, pro-middle class. Did you catch it? Did you hear what he said? One more time.
Vice President Harris has been incredibly brave to roll out an ambitious economic agenda because we all know how this works. The more details you share, the more your policies are going to get picked apart. But she's saying, I trust the American people. I trust the journalists to explain these policies and our values to folks.
See, if she puts those policies out there and she starts giving interviews explaining what she's going to do and why she thinks it's the right way to do it, it's just going to get picked apart. So instead, we trust the journalists to explain it to the American people. They're on our side. They work for us. So if somebody claims that she's going to, let's say, eliminate private health insurance because her stated position is still from 4 years ago that she's for Medicare for all and she doesn't care if you like your private health insurance. We're going to do away with it anyway. Well, we trust journalists to explain it to the American people. Jonathan Karl, come on, buddy. Earn your keep. Do your job here. You've got an election to win for us. Get to it. You know, I worry that I complain too much about this corporate-owned legacy mainstream media and the atrocious way they go about their job because, frankly, I don't want them to change. We do deserve better here in America. You know, the First Amendment was not constructed by our founders so that they could protect Jon Karl's job in his freedom of speech. That's not why we have freedom of the press. The freedom of the press is not to defend a reporter or a publication. Freedom of the press is for us because we, the electorate, we, the citizens, we, the voters, we need to have a free flow of information through an organized media so that we can be informed to make our decisions every election day. But these guys, they've relinquished that responsibility. They have completely trashed it. They have taken a side now. There's no freedom of the press anymore, not with these idiots. I hesitate to criticize them too much, though, because the more they act this way, the more reason you have to come here and be a part of what we're doing here at Town Hall.